السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال سبحانه وتعالى: وبلوناهم بالسيئات والحسنات. وقال: ونبلوكم بالشر والخير فتنة. صدق الله المولان العظيم. All praises to our Lord, the one and only, and peace and blessing be upon Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the final messenger. Many of us living in this country, we have very advanced clothing for the winter and the rain season. For the winter and the rain season, we have very advanced clothing. The outer layer is airproof and waterproof. And if you look a lot into clothing, one of the weak points of clothing is where the stitching happens. So in any clothing, the weakest point is where the stitch happens. That's where, if it's a waterproof jacket, normally the water will go through the stitching area and damage the clothing. So when a person is designing very high-end clothing, which is supposed to be weatherproof, they'll watch the weak points in that clothing. Okay, this is where the water gets in. Same thing with the boots, same thing with the waterproof gloves. The stitching is the complicated area. The water seeps in and you get wet. One more example, then we'll get to the main lesson. When we look at the sidewalks, after every sidewalk, those little pieces, there's a little line in the middle that's left, right? Does anybody know the reason why there's little lines in the sidewalks? Anyone? Anyone? No, the little space between the sidewalks.
Expansion and contraction.
Thank you, sir. That's what it is, right? Expansion, extraction. What does that mean? Anybody else want to tell us? Expansion because of heat, the sun. And contraction because of winter, cold. This is engineering lesson, physics lesson basically. So when it's too hot, the sidewalk will expand just a little bit. So they don't want the ground cracking, so they leave a little bit of space, and that's where the kids are always jumping over the lines. Those lines are not for jumping, they're actually there so the sidewalk doesn't crack when it's a hot day. Because it has space to grow a little bit. And then on a cold day, it does the opposite, and we don't want it cracking, so they leave spaces for all this. Last week when we had the Jummah lecture, we talked about the two times where a human makes a lot of bad mistakes is at the two extremes in their life when they have everything going for themselves. Some people call it balling or rolling, when everything is happening really well. That's when a person becomes arrogant. Like, yo, what are you going to do? Because he has a car, he has a job, and he's talking big now. And the extreme opposite, when a person is losing too much in life, they become reckless. Because nothing is happening, so they start getting into more fights, they're breaking off relationships, they're angry, I don't need you, because they feel like, oh, nobody's there for them, so now they want to disown other people. So that means humans also crack at the two extreme opposites. When there's too many ni'mats, or when there's a test and things are less, that's when a person is very edgy. And this is where sabr and shukr comes in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test us. He wants to give us an eternal thawab. But to be an eternal Jannati, like a lifetime member in Jannah, you really have to pay for it. To be a lifetime member in any club, you have to pay a big amount of money. So to be a Jannati member, you gotta really show yourself like you're a really special person. And how would Allah test us? With the two opposites, in good times and bad times. And honestly speaking, even friends, you only call somebody a friend if they've been there for you through thick and thin. Does somebody come into your Eid party having some chicken legs? That ain't a buddy. That's not your friend. Just because you had some chicken and some slices together, some chicken wings, that's not your friend. Sorry. Your friend is your friend who comes through to you when you're crying, when you have no food, no rent, and he comes through to help you out, or helps you find a job, or whatever, or just gives you a hug, or gives you a handshake and tells you, I know what you're going through, I know the pain you're going through. That's a real friend. Then please remember, it doesn't matter how strong a person looks, everybody needs support. Men and women. I'll give you two amazing examples from a male Sahabi and a female Sahabi. They both said, I will never forget this person's kindness to me, and that person did almost nothing for them, but it was just the right moment. They did a little, but they made them too happy. I'll talk about the male Sahabi. One of the Sahaba in one of the very crucial battles of Islam, he didn't go for the battle. The three Sahaba, so one of them didn't go. Also Ka'b, he didn't go. So for 40, 30, 40, 50 days, the Muslim community was told, don't talk to them. They dropped the ball, they didn't go. They didn't go for the very important journey to defend the Prophet and the Muslim religion. Don't go with them. Don't talk to these people. So this Sahabi was really emotionally, spiritually sad, depressed. So finally they were forgiven. The ayat came down, وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةُ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا and so on. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven them and they've been through that hard time in their life, so now Allah has forgiven them. The Sahabi says he was sitting alone on the top of his house praying his Fajr Salat, and then somebody called up from far away, Ka'b, you've been forgiven, dude. And he's like, really? He got so excited. He's like, oh God, how do I thank this guy? He took off the coat that he was wearing, the nice jubba. He just gave it to someone, but he's like, yo, what am I going to wear to the masjid now? I got to go meet the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he had no clothing. So somebody gave him a jubba, he wore that, and he ran to the masjid. But something beautiful happened that day. He goes, I walked into the masjid, and one Sahabi specifically got up and hugged me. I will never forget this guy. He said it was a hard day for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave him. He's finally coming back into the Muslim community. He's feeling special. And he goes, this Sahabi got up, gave me a hug. I will never forgive him. I never forget him. I will never forget him. But what did he do? He just got up. How long does that take? 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Did he pay him money? No. He just got up, gave him a hug, and welcomed him. And the person forever says, I will never forget him because of how nice he was to me. And now the female example, Mother Aisha radiallahu anha, when she was accused of a major sin by the munafiqeen, she was emotionally distraught, spiritually hurt. Nobody believed her, but she was very sad. So one day she says, I was sitting in my room, I was just sitting there crying, and an Ansariya Sahabiya came into my room. She sat with me, we cried together, she left without talking to me. But the fact that she cried with me, I will never forget how nice she was to me. She says we just cried together, and that lady left, but I will never forget how nice she was to me. What did she do? She didn't even say a word. The lady just came, sat with Mother Aisha, they cried together, she left. Bas, khalat khatam. Didn't make dua for her. Didn't give her wazifas and khatams to do. Nothing. Didn't send her WhatsApp messages. She just came, cried with her, walked away, and left. Mother Aisha says, I will never forget how nice she was to me. She was there for me. So I'm telling you, brothers, everybody needs support. We're going through tough times financially, spiritually. As a ummah, we're going through tough times. Help each other. I know the West is all about I and me, I and me, I. That's how the West runs. That's how the Western culture society is all about person, individuals. But the Muslim community doesn't work like that. Real life doesn't work like that. That's why the West society is so broken. Nothing can be fixed here. Honestly speaking, to be honest with you, everything is broken and it will never get fixed. Because they don't have the principles. Everything is from the individual perspective. How can I benefit? Once you have that kind of mind, how do I benefit? Forget it, you'll never fix your world. The Muslim community works differently. Is how can we help the community first? That way you can fix every problem. Because it's we first. Me comes later. But in the non-Muslim world, in the atheist world, it's me first. If it's me first, forget it, we'll never fix anything. So anyways, give support to each other. People go through tough times in health, in job, in career, in sickness, in marriage, in relationships. Be there for someone. It could be very little, but they'll remember you forever. And if you can help somebody's life actively, try to help. If you're in a better situation, help people. So as I was saying, we'll finish off very soon. That is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test us with the opposites, with good and bad. And the ayahs that we recited in the beginning of the bayan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it 2 different places in the Quran. One time it's mentioned as a present and future tense. So Allah says, وَنَبْلُوكُمْ, we will test you in good times and bad times. And then the other ayat talks about it in past tense. Once the people go to Jannah, Allah is describing them and says, yes, we did test them in good times and bad times. They were good people still. In good times and bad times. They stayed good. So we will all have opportunities in tough times and in easy times to make the mistakes. It could be bad job, haram income, haram relationship. Look at Yusuf alayhi salam. What did he do? Did he pay 1,000,000 rakats of nafil salat? No. He had an opportunity to sin. He said no. He's the best. Think about that. He just had an opportunity to sin. So that was a test. That means he was having a good situation. He was very good looking. He had a good situation to make a sin. He said, no, I'm not doing it. So he had a good situation. He could have sinned. He said, no, I'm not doing it. No. No. So he didn't sin, and that's it. He's a superstar forever. Till the day of judgment. Till Qiyamah. Superstar. What did he do? He just said no to a sin. So may Allah give us tawfiq to stay pious after Ramadan. May Allah make it easy for us to make our iman strong and stay friends with Allah. Allah will always be here. Ramadan comes and goes, but the love of Allah, the obedience to Allah should be there all the time. So may Allah give us tawfiq to stay religious in all situations. And may Allah save us from the evil of ourselves and bad friendships. Bad friendships and bad habits usually destroy people. So what kind of habits we have and what kind of friends we have, they will either make us or break us. And Allah give us good companions and good habits. Time to Christmas.